Welcome to the Coding Loft. In today's video you will learn about a really important JavaScript topic that every developer should know about: how to merge different objects. Have you ever wondered how to combine multiple objects into one? Well, then you've come to the right place, my friend. We will be exploring 3 distinct ways to merge objects in JavaScript. First, you will learn how to use the classic Object.assign method, which allows you to combine objects in a simple and reliable fashion. Next, you will get to know the spread operator, which has a modern and concise syntax. That's the reason why most developers use it nowadays. And finally, we'll introduce the Lodash-Library, a powerful toolkit that lets you perform a deep clone. More on that later. In addition to these merging techniques, we will delve into a relevant subtopic: the difference between shallow and deep cloning. This topic might sound complex, but we'll break it down into understandable segments, explaining why changes to one object might unexpectedly affect another. By the end of this tutorial, you have a comprehensive understanding of these essential JavaScript concepts, empowering you to write more robust and flexible code. First, we will look at the Object.assign method. In this project, there are 3 different objects. One is called personal details, one is address details, and the other one random facts. And each of those has different key value pairs, such as name equals Samuel, age 32, and a job object that contains title and skills. Now what we want to do is we want to merge all of these different objects into one new object. The first and the classic way of merging objects is by using the Object.assign method. So all you have to do is you call the object, and then in there you use the assign method. And what you want to specify here is a target object, basically where you want to output the new object, and then you want to specify one or more source objects. So this could be source object 1, source object 2, etc. You then want to save it into a new variable called merged object 1 in our case. Now for the target object, you could use any object that you previously specified, or you just use an empty object, just using empty curly braces, which is an empty object. And then up here you specify the kind of objects that you want to merge into there. So we have an object called personal details, we have another one, address details, and then last but not least, random facts. So now we can console.log our merged object 1, and you can now see that we have a new object which has age, city, country, favorite animal, interest, job, and all combined in one. The next way to do it is using the spread operator. That's the more modern and concise method, which is nowadays mostly used. What you would do is you would create a new object. In our case, we call it merged object 2. And then we set it to an empty object. And in here, you want to specify the objects that you want to spread. So the spread syntax, we use 3 dots, and then we call the kind of objects that we want, in our case personal details. And what this will do is it will take every key value pair of personal details and add it into a new object. So we have name, age, and job. And we'll do the same with the other ones. We have our address details, and then lastly our random facts. Now when we console.log it, our merged object 2, then we can see that we have the same object as with the Object.assign method, with the age, city, country, favorite animal, interest, jobs, and so on. When you compare Object.assign and the spread operator, you can see that the spread operator is more readable and a little more concise. That's one of the reasons why it's preferred nowadays. And last but not least, you could use an external library such as the Lodash-Library, which you would need to install into your project. So you could install it as a package using the Node Package Manager npm, and you just follow the installation to install Lodash in your project. Or you can use a content delivery network, such as we did right here. So we just inserted this script tag at the head of our index file, and that way we can access the Lodash-Library in our JavaScript. So again, you would create a new variable. In our case, we call this merged object 3. And then you use the Lodash-Library by using the Lodash dot and then the merge function. And this is similar to the Object.assign method. First specify a target and then a source. In our case, we will use an empty object again. And then as the source, we use the object that we specified above. So personal details, address details, and random facts. And now we can console.log our merged object 3. And now you can see in our output, we also have an object right here that has the exact same properties that all of the other objects have. So why would you use the Lodash-Library and not just the Object.assign method or the spread operator? To understand that, we need to look at the difference between shallow and deep cloning. So when we have a shallow clone, we basically just have a reference to the previous objects. And with deep cloning, we have an independent new object. So that means whenever I change any object inside of our merged object 3, which is a deep clone, then the original objects will not be affected. Whereas in merged object 2, it is a shallow clone. So whenever I change the property of an inner object, that original object will also be changed. Inside of our merged object 2, And it could be the same for merged object 1, they're both shallow copies. Instead of merged object 2, we have this job object right here. And the title is front-end developer. If I now say that I want to change the title for merged object 2, I would say .job.title, and then I set it to, I don't know, tree cutter. And I now console.log our merged object 2. You can see that the job title has adjusted and now it's called tree cutter. But that is not all. When I also say console.log our original personal details.job.title property, then you will see it has also changed to tree cutter. So our personal details object has changed the moment that we changed our merged object 2. And that's why we say with shallow cloning, we just have a reference to the original object. And this is only true for inner objects. So if I just change the name property to Steve, the personal details will still have the name of Samuel, as you can see right here. And the same is true when I change the personal details object after I've already created my merged objects. So right here we already have our merged object 2. And if I now change inside of the personal details.job.title the title to something else, let's say taxi driver, then you will see that both in the merged object 2 as well as the personal details object, our job title property has changed. Now let's look at the deep clone, and that's what the Lodash-Library does. So with a deep clone, when I change a property of an inner object, so we have the inner object of job and we change the title to, let's say, finance guy, and then we console.log merge object 3.job.title, we have the finance guy, but when I then console.log our personal details object and I look at the job object inside there and the title description that was given there, then it's still front-end developer. So with the deep clone, when I change the property of an inner object, such as job.title of the newly created object, then it won't affect the inner object of our original object, and vice versa. So there you go, 3 different ways to merge an object in JavaScript. You have the classic Object.assign method, which performs a shallow clone. You have the more modern spread operator, which also performs a shallow clone. And then you have the Lodash-Library, which performs a deep clone. And now you know also the difference between a shallow and a deep clone, and you can use whichever method is best for your use case. So if you did like this video, please leave a like and a comment down below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching, see you next time.